Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grey Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, April 8th, 2026. We are going to be doing a masculine, feminine, non-binary energy update. We are going to be starting right now with masculine energy. We are going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the headspace of masculine. Can I please get 3 cards for headspace of masculine right now? 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. What do we have here? Justice card in its upright. 4 of Swords in its upright. And the Lover's card in its upright. These are some intense cards, but I like to see them because they're very stable cards. I feel like this is a continuation of Venus is in Taurus right now. Okay. And I just want to describe this. Venus loves being in Taurus. Like Venus wants to be in Taurus, okay? It's just where it wants to be. Because it's working into it's the identification of understanding. There are some houses by which the planets are beautified. Venus is beautified in Taurus. And I feel like there's something about working into the context of gratitude or identifying or feeling into gratitude to a certain extent. There's something really energetically important there as it relates to how we effectively articulate or hold ourselves proportional to the state by which we energetically hold pride towards things. And I think that there's something like there's a lot of, I want to describe that these 3 cards in combination, it's very there's proud energy. And here's the thing about it. The reason we understand, and I want to describe, there's something very important that we see that has to do with the importance of understanding the recognition of holding ourselves in such a way that we know who we are. When we know who we are, then we are energetically proud in terms of being able to articulate and identify what makes us feel energetically stable. And what's beautiful about this is, and I want to describe this, especially when we see, right, like Justice card to 4 of Swords to 2 Lovers is often the conversation that we say in terms of identifying and recognizing pathwork of integrity, right? And what do we mean in terms of recognizing integrity? Integrity is our ability to energetically show up for one another. And the hard part about it is when we're working through, we don't have enough conversations today about what it means because to have an energetic integrity, because when we're building into integrity, then what's beautiful about that is you can't craft integrity for yourself, right? There's no pathwork by which you can create integrity. Integrity is effectively what is created by existing, right? And in the space by which we exist, others find our integrity for us, right? It's the gift by which the understanding is one that builds into that stabilization. And what's beautiful about this is, and this is a beautiful thing too, about integrity. We never know, we never see our own integrity, right? It's that silent, integrity is the silent witness to a life well lived, which is the modality or the experience by which, it's the modality and the experience by which we dwell within the aura of the understanding of our own sense of self. And it's beautiful because like we don't talk about it enough, but it's beautiful to energetically witness, because when you're able to effectively identify and recognize that path work, then you understand that that is like, and I like to describe it in a way, like when you think about, if you think about our energy as individuated, then the trail of the comment, the trail of the comet of our soul is basically our integrity, right? It's the energetic pathwork that we leave in the space by which we move through things. And so, and that's what's beautiful about it, because it's not necessarily something that we can predicate or control, but we can be conscientious of in terms of how we hold ourselves. Because when we understand and recognize that quality of self, then we think less, right? We think less about, right? We don't spend every moment energetically concerned about what others think, so much as working through the context of our own sense of it. So I feel like there's something very important there. And I keep on seeing that the importance that is effectively there is what's effectively fortifying a lot of relationships right now, specifically specifically in terms of what masculine, like not just the identification point of masculine perceiving supportive environments, but also understanding how one holds oneself is what is necessary in order to achieve environments, right? Because, and this is why we can't get demanding in terms of what we anticipate from one another, but rather the force by which we hold ourselves that allows the ability to energetically observe and not absorb. This is a continuation of the work that we saw that was coming out of that full moon energy in Libra during Aries season, which is often like the space by which it's hard, right? It's difficult. We often feel that we're doing the best that we energetically can at every moment. But that modality or that adaptability of effectively working through things, and even in the context by which we work through them, we identify what it is that we're trying to do better. I just keep on seeing that is this is basically the summation of a lot of that work that we identify when we're experiencing and navigating Jupiter in Cancer. Because what does Jupiter in Cancer often teach us about? It is the observation of the difference between how others perceive the self versus how it feels to be within the context of the self. Now, this brings us to feminine right now. And for feminine, we are going to be utilizing the tarot of the Nouveau Tarot today for the headspace of feminine. Can I get 3 cards for feminine, please? 3 cards for feminine. Highest priority messages. We've got here the 3 of Pentacles in its upright. The 7 of Pentacles in its upright. A lot of pentacle energy for feminine right now. And we've also got the King of Pentacles in its reversal. And I think that there's something really important that I see is happening right now in terms of feminine, understanding what it actually means to be strong in feminine, right? And here's the thing about it, and bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. I keep on seeing that this is feminine healing from a lot of the anything you can do, I can go better, do better mentality, because, right, it's the observation of comparison that often creates the space of feminine taking on excessive things, right? And there's a lot of that energy there, because it's the understanding, right? It's the understanding that when feminine recognizes that the shape of a world that requires feminine to have to work to be exceptional, instead of having to be able to be in the space of being in their energetic authenticity, we keep on seeing that this is the feminine energy recognizing the toxicity of, and I want to describe this as recognizing the toxicity of energy that encourages feminine to have to energetically be, right? To have to effectively be over, right? Overachieving, right? And why do we identify this? Because what happens? What happens when energy feels that they have to overachieve? It's often the space by which the feminine is feeling that achieving isn't even enough of a benchmark. It's not the space by which the feminine has to navigate doing something perfectly, but the space by which the feminine is perpetually being in the modality of feeling the need to overachieve. It's understanding the energetic toxicity that often requires feminine to be the force of heavy lifting, right? Because when you are in the space of overachieving, it's often the energy that articulates that you have to give another an energetic concession, right? Potentially articulating, I keep on saying the energetic imbalance of trying to articulate to another that energy matures differently, right? Because that in itself is where we identify the lack of health, right? The modality of giving energetic concessions to things instead, and this is, I'm not surprised to see this, given the fact that we've got a Libra full moon in Aries season, right? Concessions are given with energetic exceptions. And what do we mean by concessions are given with energetic exceptions? It's the identification point that a concession, when there is an exceptional circumstance, then it is rational and reasonable to effectively give an energetic concession. But what often happens with feminine is the modality by which the feminine is often told, right? Is often told that they have to do more or work harder because, right? Because other energies are in their child mentality. And this is why we see that the feminine energy is working to heal, because you do someone no service in doing something for another, right? You don't do a service for each other when we do things for one another, but rather the space by which we effectively amplify and articulate and show each other how to do things, right? Like the sound that you will hear when another person is giving up on you is, I'll do it myself, right? And that's why I see that that's a lot of the feminine energy that is building into a sense of patience and a sense of fortitude in effectively amplifying and articulating upon counterpart strength, which is not the modality by which they feel they have to overachieve to prove the fact that they can be loved, but the energy that recognizes that they're healing from an environment that effectively made the feminine feel like that in the first place. Now, this brings us to the non-binary energy, and for non-binary right now, we'll be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. We've got here the 9 of Cups in its reversal, the Page of Wands in its reversal, and the 6 of Swords in its upright. So these cards that we're effectively seeing right now, the thing I want to articulate upon them has a lot to do with the observation or the understanding of being able to identify and recognize what the state and nature is of identifying and working through circumstances and conditions by which we effectively resolve, and I keep on getting this, like navigating, holding our anger as honor is what I keep on getting. And why are we seeing that for a lot of the energy, there's something important there in relationality to holding anger with a sense of honor? Because, and we were discussing this We were discussing this the last time we were doing this reading. For a lot of the energy, having to go through experiences by which they felt that they had to choose between, right? Having to go through experiences by which they felt they had to choose either the state or nature of effectively moving towards their authenticity, but not allowing, like not feeling the ability to be able to energetically emote as they did so, right? This is what effectively frustrates or confounds a lot of the energy in those modalities and those experiences, specifically because for a lot of the energy that is effectively doing that work, the understanding and the recognition that one is trying to create a world that does not require one to have to let go of the ability to emote in order to move through authenticity. That is how we heal and fix the energetic fabric of our society, right? Because you'll often see the exceptional treatment that often is experienced in a world where others don't accept one's authenticity. What do you often find in energetic scenarios where others don't accept your authenticity? Then when you feel angry or when you feel frustrated, rather than another person honoring your frustration or your anger, they try to energetically project it onto you in the form of identifying the fact that the frustration you feel isn't directed outside the self in terms of something that needs to be amended or changed, but something that is wrong within the self. And here's the thing about it. There's nothing wrong with holding anger. There's nothing wrong with being upset so long as one is able to articulate upon the justified cause and reason for that energetic frustration. And so that's why we see that for a lot of the energy, the ability to articulate upon their energetic frustration and concern, or allowing the space by which they're honoring their energetic anger upon things, this is the energy that is working to heal. But at the same time, that might feel very triggering, right? It may reaffirm or remind them of experiences in the past wherein they had to effectively heal to find themselves. And even in the modality by which they do so, I just keep on identifying that for a lot of the energy doing that work, the ability to effectively feel reaffirmed in their energetic commitment in terms of building into energetic stabilization in terms of honoring their feelings while simultaneously seeing the source of others' projections or seeing energy that does not work on the self, but rather tries to project the work that they refuse to do on the self on others. We see that that's a lot of the energy that is feeling energetically confirmed or building into their energetic resolution and confirmation in terms of how far they themselves have come, right? It's beautiful. It's like, and I feel like it's frustrating because to a certain extent they're seeing their own progress, but at the same time they may be seeing or witnessing the hindrance point in those that perpetually, I keep on hearing, the hindrance point that occurs from energy that is perpetually projecting instead of actively healing, right? So there's a lot of that emotionality that may be coming through on that. Continuing to get clarity, and I feel like even in the space by which that's occurring, right? The observation of being able to amplify or articulate it is what is restorative potentially as it relates to healthy counterpart connections. Continuing to get clarification, moving back towards masculine energy. And we're going to be utilizing, we're going to be going into the heart space of masculine. 3 cards, masculine heart space right now. And we'll be utilizing the Nouveau Tarot. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3. We've got the Knight of Pentacles in its reversal. We've got the Two of Swords in its reversal. And we also have the Queen of Wands in its reversal. So a lot of court cards that are effectively coming through right now in the heart space of masculine. And I like this for the masculine because this is a masculine energy understanding the quality and the condition of being around healthy energy is not feeling like one has to constantly battle in terms of, I keep on hearing, the space by which one does not feel like one has to battle as it relates to trying to identify or recognize. The word that keeps on coming through is preferential treatment is what I'm getting. But like the thing about it is I like to point out, there's no preferential treatment needed in healthy energetic connections, right? There's no preferential when it comes to it. But this is also, I need to point out, this is why energy that criticizes often ends up in unhealthy relationship dynamics, because when we identify preference, then we're not seeing the whole sum of a person, right? When energy is trying to build into preferential relationships, then it's literally often building into a relationship where another person doesn't exist, but is just perpetually changing based upon the preferences of another person. And preferential relationship dynamics usually lead to perpetual dissatisfaction, right? Because, and you'll see this, right? And I feel like this is almost masculine energy, healthy masculine energy, seeing the toxicity of preferential relationship dynamics. Because when another person does not see the whole sum of another, right? But just sees them as a tableau upon which they want to have their preferences adorned, then you often see the modality or the experience of energetic situations by which the dissatisfaction is the core of the partnership, right? Because it's often the modality, you'll see the relationship by which one person is perpetually dissatisfied and the other person is perpetually mutable. And so what it is, it's the vicious cycle of a preferential relationship dynamic where one person is perpetually dissatisfied because they haven't healed. And so they're constantly energetically criticizing mutable energy. And there's a mutable energy that's perpetually always changing, trying to effectively satisfy the dissatisfied energy. And then the dissatisfied energy will potentially articulate upon the fact that the mutable energy is too changeable. It's like, it's just like, make it make sense, right? It's painful to witness. And you'll often see, right? You'll often see the fact that when energy starts to heal, they start giving preferential relationships like that a lot of a lot of movement away from things, because, and I keep on seeing, we live to delight one another, right? That when we change for one another, we delight in each other's view. But the modality by which, and it's hard to sometimes tell the difference, right, between the energetic delightful relationship wherein we see energy that delights in changing for one another, and this is what we identify with a delightful relationship, the energy that is perpetually changing in the best ways possible, right? And that amplification of work that occurs versus those modalities or experiences that potentially often feel like they're the replication of unhealthy or hideous relationship path work in the space by which, right, you can often see what, and this is what we describe as a miserable relationship dynamic, because the misery that's found is not in the energetic fulfillment of things, but rather in the perpetuation of an energetic lack space. So the modality by which one energy, right, this is what we see, like this is literally what we're seeing here, right? right? The modality by which one energy is perpetually dissatisfied with everything and is constantly articulating their dissatisfaction to the mutable energy, and then the mutable energy is perpetually changing, and then the dissatisfied energy articulates the fact that the mutable energy is changing too much, right? So that's the perpetuation of that unhealthy relationship cycle. And so what's beautiful about that is something that is observed is something that can be actively healed. So this is either the masculine that is observing this in the pathwork of the past and is working to heal from the trauma of experiencing that in some kind of inner child wound, or it's the energy that is potentially observing that around them and understanding why fulfillment is key. This is why self-fulfillment is key as it relates to building healthy relationship dynamics, because you'll never find, if you're feeling dissatisfied, there is no relationship on this earth that will fix that feeling of satisfaction. That is not what the relationship is for. Rather, it is the fulfillment that we bring into a partnership that allows us to explore even further how to build that fulfillment even more. This brings us to the feminine energy. And for feminine right now, we're going to be utilizing, for the heart space of feminine, the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. We've got here the Death card in its upright. I'm not surprised to see that. The 2 of Cups in its upright. And the Hermit card in its upright. I feel like there's something really important about feminine recognizing and understanding the valuation of being in secure relationship, right? When we're in secure relationship, there's no relationship that can harm our relationship, right? When one is in healthy relationship, there are not other relationships that can harm a relationship. But often, and I like to point this out, this is why when another person sees another in a blissful relationship and another person becomes insecure in seeing it, this is why I feel like often feminine recognizes the need to effectively move away from things, because it's the observation, right? That healthy relationships should be methods of inspiration. That when we see healthy relationship dynamics, they shouldn't energetically trigger us. They should reaffirm our own energetic commitment that because it can exist, then so too is it available to us. But too often, right? Too often, and this is why comparison is the most toxic thing that's ever entered into the experience of feminine. Because if you spend an entire relationship looking in the other direction, seeing what others are doing, right, then you're not fully integrated in your relationship. Rather, you're looking at the relationship as a vehicle or metric or a success metric, right? And this is what we effectively have to work to heal from. Our relationships are not success metrics. And often the sound of a relationship effectively breaking is the modality by which we take something that's energetically precious to us and compare it to something that is not of ours, right? And what occurs in that modality? It's in that moment or that experience by which it feels like one articulates that one would prefer something else. So the modality by which we see this, I keep on seeing that is a lot of the relationships or a lot of the experiences that effectively energetically articulate upon the valuation of how they energetically feel about things, and they're honoring their energetic feelings. And I see even now that for some of those relationships, I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like there's some healthy feminine energy that feels like they work through the modality of having to go into hermit mode as a result of entering into healthy partnership, right? And that, I need to point that out, that is tragic. That is energetically tragic that we have created a situation or circumstance by which I'm reading into feminine, that often the feminine feels that once they enter into healthy partnership, that is the effective space by which they start to feel that the relationships around them shatter in the face of the relationship that they find themselves in, this is often the space by which, right, having to navigate tragic circumstances like that is what effectively hurts the feminine energy, because it shouldn't be like that, but it will be, right? It will be if we continue to be in a state or space by which others are utilizing relationship and viewing it as a success metric instead of the beauty of energetically connecting with another, right? And so that's why we see that that is a lot of the feminine energy that is working through those qualities and conditions, or feeling the experience or the purpose, or navigating, right? Navigating, like it should, like working into healthy relationship should not require the double lifting of having to navigate others' insecurity as one does so, right? Like that's almost a lot of the energy of feminine, working through and recognizing some shadow work in relationality to fear that they may be carrying as it relates to entering into healthy relationship, right? The modality by which it shouldn't result in that. And if it does, then it often reveals the insecurity that's potentially around the self. So I feel like that's a lot of, and I need to stress, that's a lot of the continuation that we potentially see that is occurring specifically as a result of, like, this is a result that we see with Uranus in Taurus, with Venus in Taurus at the same time. It shouldn't be like that. But the fact that it is shows what we need to heal societally. While for non-binary energy, 3 cards for the heart space of non-binary. And I got to tell you, I just want to show you, I keep on trying to keep this card straight, but like the 6 of swords, the 6 of Swords keeps tilting into the Knight of Page, so we're going to keep that cantilevered. You'll see the photo of it when I post it for the podcast. Can I get the Smith-Waite Centennial deck? Where'd you go? Come back here. Yeah, 3 cards, please. Mm-mm. Oh, you got 2 here and 1. Yeah, here's the, yeah, that's why the non-binary cards are kind of all over the place, but in the best way possible, because there's something going on right now with the third row, is what I'm seeing. We got to work through it. There's something a little interesting going on there, and we're gonna talk about it. Hold on. Clarification. Oh, look at that. We got a King of Pentacles. A lot of Pentacle energy today. King of Pentacles with the 4 of Wands, and it's upright. And they're on top of each other. So that's the way they came out. That's the way we're going to read them. And the Mage. So the Magician in its reversal. Let's talk about it. So, here's the thing. There's a lot to be said right now that we see, particularly as it relates to non-binary energy and adaptability. And I want to point out there's something really important to recognize. And I feel like when I say this to a like non-binary energy, I'm just going to hold your hand when I say this. Your adaptability is a gift for those who recognize that they receive it, right? Your adaptability is a gift. But and the reason I say that is because I feel like a lot of the non-binary energy has had to go through experiences by which others always assume that they will bear the brunt of adaptability, right? The bearing the brunt, and I want to describe this, bearing the brunt of adaptability is often, it's like it carries a very unique healing signature, because the modality by which often energy that has experienced profound negligence is in modalities by which they often feel that they have to bear the brunt of others recognizing or holding the fact that one is adaptable as some kind of grand achievement, is what I keep on getting. Right? Like, oh, look at them. Look at that. Oh, you're so adaptable. Thank you. I had to be. There was a lot of neglect there. You know what I mean? Like, The modality by which one works through, like the adaptability that others often commend you for, right? The adaptability that others often commend you for, that you're like, thank you. I needed that adaptability. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you appreciate my adaptability. I needed it to survive. Right? It's like the modality. And the reason I'm articulating that is because, and I want to describe this. I feel like for a lot of the non-binary energy, having having a somewhat frustrating relationship with one's own excellence, right? The frustrating relationship with one's own excellence, which is the articulation of working into things where others often articulate that you're energetically excellent, that was not necessarily something that you effectively tried to work towards, right? Not something that you came across willingly, but something that you effectively had to effectively find within yourself, that then becomes, right, that then becomes a blessing to those around the self. And that's why I keep on seeing that. That's why that third row is effectively somewhat blocked to a certain extent, because I can see the energy almost articulating upon the fact that they often go through things so that others don't have to, right? Like it's the like this row that I'm seeing, and if you're a tarot nerd, you want to see it, it's energy that is frequently in the space by which they bear the brunt of things. And that is the shape, like that is the energetic shape that their love takes, but the observation in terms of the fact that they do so is often the space by which I keep on seeing. That is why I see that a lot of the energy that builds into counterpart connection holds one so dearly, is what I keep on seeing, because it's that observation or that work that effectively, I feel like the hard part for some of that energy is getting into the habit, I know you're going to hate when I say this, of advocating for yourself. Okay. I know it's hard, and I just need to stress this. You could not be like the energy I'm reading here, like it is not selfish to articulate and advocate for something that you would eagerly give another person, right? But it's hard because I feel like it's the energy that feels the space by which, right, like that's learning that it's okay to articulate that, because I keep on seeing when you articulate upon having one's needs met, then you give someone the opportunity to meet them. Continuing to get clarification, moving back towards the masculine energy, and we're going to be utilizing the bottom of the deck. So the unconscious space of masculine. We're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot for masculine right now. 3 cards, please. Mm. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the 5 of Cups in its reversal. Okay. We've got here the Hierophant in its upright, and we've also got the Knight of Swords in its upright, or actually the Emperor. Correction. So I want to kind of work through something here, and I think that the important thing that we're energetically observing is, and I actually think it's interesting that I initially articulated that it was the Hierophant, but it was the Emperor, because the thing about it, and this is what I feel like is almost going through right now, for a lot of the masculine energy, which is often it's nothing is more frustrating than being misperceived by energy that is not that. And this is why, and I need to point out, this is often why the first emotion, and this is why it's important to be able to navigate our emotions, because I tell you right now, masculine, when you start healing, the first emotion that's going to come up, and you know this, it's going to come up big, it's anger. It's going to be anger. I know. It's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to recognize that on the journey of healing, right? The first thing you have to go through is anger. And it's the anger of recognizing that this is what often happens with masculine energy. The space by which, when one works to heal, it feels like you're healing for everyone. It feels like you literally have to carry all of the weight of the unhealed masculine energy on one's own back. It is simply the modality, because in every moment by which the energy does not heal with you, it makes the journey even harder, because it is the modality by which a lot of the healed masculine energy spends, and it's even the space by which it's like you can't convince somebody that you're healing, right? And it's understanding that others will perpetually misperceive you as being unhealed, and understanding the why, right? Understanding the source of the energetic pain and trying to resolve it, and not moving in the inclination of what is easy. There is nothing more blessed than going the hard way, because the hard way is where integrity is formed, right? And that's what we meant in relationality, talking towards integrity when we started this, because the integrity you create is the integrity that others see in your wake. And when others see integrity, they go, wow, I would like some of that. That's beautiful. Look how beautiful. Look at the shape. Look at the energetic shape of that force moving through the world. Look how beautiful an existence can be in the wake of another's integrity. There's no more blessed path than having pathwork of integrity, because it's the modality by which you never see it, you never feel it, you can't put your hands around it, you can't talk to it, but it's there, and it's affecting the world in ways that you can never perceive, but are so energetically important because it gives each other encouragement. That is what's so blessed about integrity. When others see integrity, what do they feel? That is the shape that hope is formed under, right? You go through that hard work, right? You go through that hard work, right? And you don't feel like anything is happening. And what does everyone see around you? There's hope. Look at hope. Look at hope over there. Look at hope over there, right? The hope that we effectively deliver as we move through things that we often don't see, which is the direct result of our energetic integrity. And it is why it is the most invisible work that we can give each other, because every time we move towards that, there's a little more hope in the world, right? And that's all we're doing. We're all just plugging away with nothing but our integrity to guide us. And the result of that is more and more hope that we find everywhere. So I want you to remember that right now. If you're feeling like you're going through a lot of that work right now, masculine, and you're feeling really frustrated, and you're also feeling really frustrated because not only are you doing that, but often the space by which you feel that others misperceive you, remember, nothing is missed. Nothing is missed by spirit, right? And the shape by which we effectively do that work pays back infinitely, right? It pays back voluminously. And the modality by which I see the energy working in that fashion, it starts, right? It starts with the self, right? And it moves out in every context in terms of how we move towards our relationships, the work that we're trying to do. And we don't need to be perfect in it, right? Because intention is not about perfection. Intention is trying to do something in a way that makes something energetically better. Now this brings us to the feminine energy. 3 cards for feminine right now. And we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for feminine. I mean, for unconscious of feminine. 2, 3. We've got the Temperance card in its reversal. The King of Wands in its reversal. And we have the 3 of Swords in its reversal. All right, let's talk a little bit about this energy here. Because, and I got to stress this, like, I like, I need to point this out. This is feminine redefining strong feminine. This is feminine redefining what it means to be strong feminine. And I like to point this out. The redefinition of feminine is not the modality of feminine right? And I keep on hearing this. The strength of feminine is feminine not feeling the need to have to prove themselves in the context of masculine. Okay? Like the redefinition of strength for feminine is the modality of understanding that there are many different forms of strength, and the modality by which, and I like to point this out, the toxicity of comparison is also the quality of unhealed energy, right? So the modality by which, right, the modality by which another person says prove it is often being able to see the energetic force of toxicity, right? The modality by which energy says convince me, prove it, is the energy that says, right, I want to see how far you will energetically go rather than energetically believing in someone, right? And that's the feminine that often understands you get more, right? You get more from encouragement and love and appreciation and being able to show someone the fruits of their energetic labor. There's never been a world by which energy slaves away at something or breaks themselves in half to try to do something and then saying, aren't you glad because you did it yourself? The energy goes, no, I'm exhausted, right? Like the only merit that often happens, right? The only merit that happens when energy tries to get into a prove it mentality is they just conveniently got you to do all the work, right? It's very convenient, isn't it? It's very convenient. It's very convenient, isn't it? The modality by which another person says, we're going to give you the energetic opportunity to prove it. And that's how they get you to do all of the work for them, right? It's very convenient. It's very convenient. But once you energetically see it, right, then you don't unsee it. And you understand that love does not need to be proven. Love is believed in. Love is encouraged, right? Love is affirmed, right? And so we see that this is a lot of the feminine energy that is healing, right? That is healing from a lifetime of prove it, because this is a feminine that says, that knows, the healthy feminine that knows that the only thing you get out of the lifetime of prove it is is exhaustion, right? That's nice, right? You just spent your whole life proving something, and now what do you want? You don't want anything. You just want rest. The rest that you should have had from the beginning, right? The rest that should have always been there, available to you. And so that's why we see that for a lot of the feminine energy, that is the energy that articulates the fact that they don't do anything for the sake of proving anything to anyone, and that there's only one person, right? This is the message that we get through Aries lessons, that when you wake up every day, there should be only one person that you are trying to prove anything to. And that is the face that you see in the mirror each day that says, I bet we could do it a little bit better tomorrow. Non-binary energy, bottom of the unconscious. We'll be utilizing the Nouveau Tarot. 3 cards, please. Oh, these cards again, they're all jammed up here on the side. It's okay. Yeah, 7 of Swords in its upright. Page of Swords in its upright. Oh, so much sword energy. All this, I need to point out a lot of sword energy right now in the unconscious of non-binary. And a lot of it, I need to point out a lot of it coming through right now in the first row. And I have to stress this, like the thing is, and I feel like it's a conversation of letting go of trauma, right? And I feel like there's something about non-binary energy when it comes to letting go of their trauma, which is the energy that goes like, I'm good. It's like and the reason I'm articulating that is because, right, trauma informs us, right? And it's not the fact, I need to point this out, and I feel like this is the complicated relationship that some energy has as it relates to their trauma, which is the modality by which they work into the context of understanding. I feel like this is the energy that gave up on getting rid of their trauma long ago. They figured that out. They figured that. As if the funniest thing you'll ever hear, right? The funniest thing you'll ever hear when you have trauma, like the funniest thing is someone being like, "Have you considered letting that go?" What? Oh my God! I'm like, did you letting it go? Oh my God! What a concept! You're right. You mean this trauma I've been carrying the whole time? I could have just let that. Oh, silly me. Silly me. This whole thing. You mean that? Yeah, yeah. I could just let. If it like literally, right? The trauma means the pain that you cannot let go of, right? Like, like the pain, like and there is nothing more absurd than somebody trying to articulate that the sound of healing is letting go of trauma, right? Like, because, and like that is often disassociation. That's also what the energies learn. The energies also learn that energy that often gets too overworked on letting go of trauma is being like, that doesn't sound right, right? Trauma informs us. So you have to understand and that's the hard thing about trauma, right? Nobody ever wants it. But once you've experienced it, there's something to learn from it, right? And so that's the energy that works upon, right? That works upon the understanding. And this is what we talk about with shadow work, right? The understanding that when you're actually working to let go of trauma, the first thing you accept is you're never going to let it go. You're never going to get over it. And that's healthy. That's where the health starts, right? Because the minute you stop saying, oh my gosh, why can't I get over this? And saying, how do I hold this better? How do I shift this so that it doesn't break my back as I carry it? Then that is the journey that we do that allows us to become energetically stronger, right? And it's not easy because the thing is we constantly, right? It's constant adjustment. Like that's the hard part with trauma. It's not even the fact that you move it once, right? You're going to shift it once, and then as you mature, you're going to have to adjust it again, right? The context or the understanding of the perpetual shifts that we effectively integrate that allow us to be able to navigate the force of our trauma, right? This is the energy that often articulates upon the fact that this is why the energy holds their adaptability sacredly, because they understand that is not only, right, that adaptability is the benefit and the gift from the energetic trauma that they've worked to heal and absolve within themselves, which is the modality by which they understand how strong they are, right? The modality by which they recognize how much they have had to effectively accommodate the pain that others have given them, but allowed the space by which it did not become all of them, but the space by which they found the capacity to hold it and become something more in the process is the work that we effectively do that helps us navigate the pain that often feels like it's overwhelming. But that's why we see that for a lot of the energy doing that work, right? The modality or the experience by which, and this is why we're very conscientious, right? When someone effectively brings forth the past to us, the way that we articulate it, the only way the past should be brought forth is referentially. The modality by which we effectively articulate upon what it is that we're working to effectively change. Because I like to point this out, this is also energy that has had to let go of a lot of relationships, specifically because, right, they've done nothing but effectively continue to energetically flourish or to grow. And the space by which another person, right, tries to articulate the fact that another has changed too much. I just keep on seeing the energy articulate that we're supposed to change. That's what our job is, right? that is what it means when we maturate. That is what it means when we grow, right? We're always on the journey of understanding the self more. And that journey is beautiful because, and this is why we don't hold, right? This is why we hold the past referentially and blissfully, because the modality by which another person potentially holds on to it too tightly is often the space by which the past begins to hurt us because, right? Because we're holding on to it too tightly. And this is the energy that effectively, right, they work into the context of their healing by articulating to others, right, the ability of moving towards energetic authenticity is us finding our bliss state. And as we do so, right, then that modality of being able to amplify and articulate, and this is why we only have like there's only one card right now that is in the third row for non-binary energy, and that is the Six of Swords in its upright, right? Like this is energy that has learned, right? That is learning to navigate others' disappointment, but not over internalize upon it, right? Because when another person is energetically disappointed, we often see that the question that should be asked is, what were you energetically expecting? And often the expectation that another had tells us everything we need to know in the context of how they hold us. Bottom of the deck on these readings for feminine, for masculine energy right now, and we're going to be utilizing the Tarot de Nouveau for bottom of the deck for masculine. There's another Emperor card. So we've got double Emperor card, and we've got the Emperor card in its reversal. And I like to point this out. A lot of the masculine energy that's healing is energetically exhausted by the performative masculine. But here's the thing about it. Performative masculine is often identified by those who do not necessarily feel net masculine, right? Performative masculinity is basically the result of someone who feels energetically insecure in their own energy. Because when you understand the force by which you energetically occupy security, right? It's the force of feeling energetically secure. So the fact that you don't, like the fact that you feel like you have to perform, right? And this is why often the healed masculine energy like starts to see masculine energy and it feels like a caricature, it feels like a farce, right? Because when you start to heal masculine energy, seeing others perform masculinity, it feels like a farce because it's the energy that feels like it's going out of its way to insist upon. So offensive because it's the modality by so much that one is masculine, that it's clear that one does not feel like one is because one feels like you have to hurt. If you have to hurt another person in order to prove that you're masculine, then you're probably not masculine, right? If you have to be in the space, if you have to be in the space by which you have to hurt another person to prove that you are energetically a force, then you're probably not that force, right? Because it does not require, right? It does not require hurt to be able to embody energy. It only requires hurt when you're afraid that another is going to uncover the fact that you're not within it, or the anxiety that you feel about the fact that you feel separate from it. While for feminine energy, bottom of the deck, we've got, and we'll be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot, the Five of Swords in its upright, right? And the Five of Swords in its upright talks to us about, again, we've got a lot of that Five of Swords energy out here. there's a lot of 5 energy here. And the thing about the 5 energy that we're effectively seeing, and I want to point this out, this is feminine energy that is exhausted. The only reward for proving the self is exhaustion. That's the only trophy you get for overachieving. The trophy for overachieving is exhaustion, right? And this is why when feminine energy recognizes that the only trophy that is achieved for overworking the self is exhaustion, then one starts to be more conservative with one's own energy, right? The modality by which one recognizes and understands the space of being able to create an environment by which one feels that one is thriving is not the space by which one feels energetically exhausted at every moment, but the energetic thriving point by which one feels energetically healthy. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy, that's a lot of the feminine energy that is identifying and articulating upon that. And even in the space by which, right, the feminine is not allowing the context of feeling the need of having to run themselves ragged, right? Because I just keep on seeing that is a lot of the energy that effectively is starting to build into an energetic force of stabilization in terms of what feels healthy rather than what feels exhaustive. And that's potentially a lot of the feminine energy that is getting better, right? The only way that one can get better in terms of doing that is by building into energy that is, I keep on hearing trust, right? And this is feminine healing collectively, right? Collective energy is able to distribute weight, right? And this is why, do you see what happens with feminine energy? If feminine's constantly in a point of comparing, they can't build collectively, right? The modality by which feminine understands why it's important to heal from comparison is because when feminine starts to build collectively, then it doesn't require feminine to do everything. It's the modality by which the feminine is able to find the energetic force by which they can do something in an even greater fashion, right? It's the modality that allows, when the feminine heals comparison, they're able to fix the fabric of femininity because it allows the feminine to take collective approaches towards healing. But that doesn't happen with unhealed feminine energy that's still in the modality of articulating upon energetic, like the space by which feminine sees feminine as as energetic enemy, right? And that's usually the strongest sign that something is effectively wrong in the energy of feminine. It's when feminine sees feminine as enemy that we recognize that that is the harm that's happened to the feminine energy because it prevents the feminine from being able to build or to see or to heal collectively. While for non-binary energy, bottom of the deck, we'll be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial Hierophant, and there's that Hierophant. I feel like there's something really important in relationality to non-binary as it relates to speak. I told you. How's that affirming yourself going? I mean, here's the thing about it. Like, I just, it's important to talk about things, is what I keep on seeing. And here's the thing about it. It's not, listen, I'm going to say this to non-binary energy. I'm not saying it's important to talk about things because it's good to talk about them. I'm saying it's important to talk about them. Okay, even if you don't feel comfortable talking. And I mean that, and the way I'm articulating that is because, right, like this is the I'll deal with it energy, right? This is the I'll deal with it energy, right? But the thing is, right, the idea I'll deal with it energy is often, and I need to stress this, and I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, that's hyper independence, right? And the part is like the recognition point of working through hyper independence sometimes, and this is the worst part about it, I'm going to put it like this. For those who have been traumatized, hyper-independence was the only thing that got you out of something. It's also the only thing you need to heal once you get out of it. Okay? I know. And it's frustrating. It's not, I know it's not fair. Okay, it's not fair. It's not fair that it's like that. It's not fair that the same hyper independence that got you here. Okay? I'm here to hold you through that. It's not fair that the same hyper independence that got you here is now what you're working to alleviate. I understand that, but that's why the work is necessary, right? Because the modality by which we articulate the space of being able to heal from our hyper independence, this is why we understand that the journey of healing is perpetual, because the thing that effectively protected us is what can sometimes block healthy relationship. So the ability of the energy to effectively identify and recognize and to articulate their needs so they have needs met, remember, that is also a part of your healing journey. And it's not too much to ask if it's something that you yourself would eagerly give in another context. That is where we find all of the energy prior to beginning. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the court cards in the cup suit. Our next class is going to be held on Friday, April 17th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the wand suit, the court cards in the wand suit. If you would like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid monthly subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we have studied prior to beginning that class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to complimentary, you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my stack, not only will you have access to the full year's, a discounted rate on the full year's worth of classes, you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Class Archive. Please keep in mind as well, one of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule and my mystic meditation articles, which give you updates on everything we've been seeing in the cards. I just wrote one recently on this full moon that we're navigating. I'll be writing one shortly on the new moon we've got coming up. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer, for those who are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey, as well as our dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.